So this is the grandmother clock that my grandfather made for me in 1974. Grandmother clock is slightly different proportions than a grandfather clock. Solid walnut, and it's going to chime. Every 15 minutes. I don't even realize it anymore because I'm so used to it. Anyway, he made this clock from scratch. This is not a kit. It is designed and built by him, and it weighs a ton. There's no press board. It's solid walnut, and I watched him actually work on this in his lathe and do all the milling and the turning. And the movement was bought from a company in Chicago, which my grandfather regularly dealt with. And he bought many movements from them. He made over 100 clocks during his retirement. That was one of his passions, was woodworking. And he came from a long line of woodworkers, furniture makers. So a one-of-a-kind piece from a wonderful man who I admired very much.
Hello everyone, Gary here. I'm old and in the way. I hope you're doing well. It's a beautiful morning here, overcast and somewhat cool for this time of year, so I'm digging it. And today I'm going to do a little story about my paternal grandfather for smoking cardboard, Steve. So housekeeping, I am smoking my RATOS pipe that I got in a trade from Emil, tinfoil hat piper dude. Can never get his name right, sorry, Emil. Anyway, wonderful pipe, love it. And in it I am smoking, for the first time in this pipe, Kramer's Father Dempsey. And this is a wonderful, wonderful English. Cyprian Latakia, some Turkish Orientals, Virginias. It is a lovely, lovely smoke. It's when it's available, I always grab some, and I highly recommend it to you fellas. Delicious. So I'm here today to talk about my paternal grandfather. Steve asked us if for VR if we wanted to relate any stories of our parents or grandparents, and most of you have heard me talk about my maternal grandfather, who actually set me off on my pipe smoking journey. He was a gardener and a pipe smoker and a lovely guy. And my paternal grandfather was also a very interesting man. And he came to this country at 18 with his parents and younger brother. His older brothers had come here earlier and set up a house that was big enough to house all of them. And so they came over in 1922 when my grandfather was 18. And where I'm from in northern Illinois, Rockford, it was a machine tool and furniture building city. It was very robust in furniture and machine tools. And so my great-grandfather was a furniture maker and a ship's carpenter, and they did some farming. They were tenant farmers. But life was very hard for them And so my two older uncles, great uncles, came and got jobs and were doing quite well and brought over the rest of the family. Immigrant story. My grandfather was a furniture maker. He apprenticed for that, following in the footsteps of his father, and he loved woodworking. He never smoked. He was not a smoker. My great-grandfather was a pipe smoker, but my grandfather was not. He told me he loved the smell of wood, whether it was being turned in a lathe or machined or sanded. He just loved the smell of wood, and that's what he enjoyed is woodworking. He did work for a while in machine tool, cutting steel. Furniture making started to die out, and it moved to the southern part of the United States. And so he had 2 sons and a wife, so he went to work in a factory cutting steel, and he did not care for that. When he was older, he went back to the furniture trade, and in his early 80s, he was still on call repairing furniture for people. And he also built grandfather clocks, grandmother clocks. He carved eagles. He was a marvelous man. And my story about him was one that he told me. When he was growing up in Sweden, they had to ski. In the winter, they would ski to school. And he and his 2 brothers, and his younger brother was not old enough yet, but the 3 of them would go off, and it was an arduous skiing expedition to get to school. And so at night when they would come home, they would race to get back to the house. And they went through various farm fields, and one of these farmers did not like them going through his farm for some reason. All they left was tracks, but he apparently did not care for that. And so in this particular evening after school, they were rushing home, and my grandfather was in the lead for the change. And they decided to go through this farmer's field anyway. They wanted to get home, and so instead of skirting around it, and they went right through it. And so he was coming down a hill into this farmer's field, and at the last minute, he said he saw a glint of something across the gateway, and he ducked. And the farmer had put a wire across the gate opening. And as soon as he realized it and he got down and went under it, he stopped and spun around and yelled to his brothers to not, there was a wire there. And he told me this, I was about 10 years old, and it was shocking to me that he said it probably would have taken his head off if he had hit it at full speed. It was just the right height. And of course, at that time, I didn't think about the fact that if that had happened, there would be no father for me and no me. So it was by the grace of God, or just dumb luck, or catching that glint of steel, that he was able to avert getting really seriously hurt, if not killed. So I'm grateful that he saw that wire in the nick of time, for multiple reasons. The other thing, the other story that, and he has many, he was an interesting guy, but I would stay with him on weekends. He was, and he would let me work in his shop. He had a lathe, and he had sanders and shapers, and so he would let me work in his shop. and I'd stay overnight, and we'd make a weekend out of it. I was about 10 years old at the time, and it was cold. And my grandfather, coming from Sweden, he loved cold weather. He hated the hot summers here in Illinois, and his windows were open at all seasons. He rarely shut a window, and his house was cold enough where I swear you could see your breath in it. When my mother would come over, we would come over as family. I don't think my mother ever took her coat off. Grandpa's sitting there with his t-shirt, you know. My mother's got her jacket on. Well, anyway, in his house, I had my father's old room, and it was down the hall from my grandfather's room. Right across from my grandfather's room was the bathroom. So early one winter morning, I'm laying there all comfortable and warm and going, I have to use the bathroom, and there's no way I can wait till the alarm goes off. Grandfather always made breakfast, and it was about 4 in the morning. So I got up and ran down the hall, nipped into the bathroom, and when I came out, I looked in. My grandfather's room was right across from the bathroom, and I looked in there and I was like, what the heck? What do I see? There was snow on his end table next to the bed. There was a layer of snow on there, and I peered at him, and he had a light layer of snow on him. He always slept with the windows open. No screens, of course, in the winter. The window was open, and we had a wind and snowy evening, and my immediate thought was that he had died. What was I to think? He's laying there, and he's got a layer of snow on him. And I ran into his room, Grandpa, and he, of course, he comes to life. He wakes up, and yeah, what's wrong, Poika? What's wrong, Poika? And I said, you got snow on you. And he's like, oh yeah, he just brushes it off. He goes, oh yeah, well, hey, it's about time for me to get up and make us breakfast. So he was a incredible guy, and I miss him very much. And I often wonder, with all of his woodworking skills, what if he had made pipes? What if I had, well, it just didn't work out. But I bet he would have made fantastic pipes, because he was a supreme woodworker. And I'll show you some images of a grandmother clock that he made for me. Gave it to me when I turned 20. He, as I said, he carved eagles. He actually carved a 5-foot tall Jesus for his church. He laminated 200 pounds of wood. He laminated it and hand carved a full 5-foot tall Jesus out of that wood. Yeah, cool guy. Well, I'm glad I got a chance to share this story with you. And Steve, you got a great channel. You're a great guy. I am so happy to count you as one of my friends. If there's anybody out there that sees this that doesn't know Steve Coddington and Smoking Cardboard, you got to check him out, because he's a cool dude. He rocks a great beard. You do, Steve. I like your beard. And you're a great guy. So, guys, until we get a chance to talk again, take care and enjoy your week ahead.